Alles Klotz Productions.
Streets of Rage 2 is widely considered to be the best game in the series and one of the essential Mega Drive/Genesis titles out there. It was released in 1992, just 1 year after the original game.
Like its predecessor, I did not play this game when I was growing up. I didn't even know it existed, but we've already talked about that.
When I finally played these games in 2008, I started with Streets 1, then moved on to the sequel. In my review of the first game, I stated that the original is an all-time favorite of mine thanks to excellent music and kick-ass gameplay.
Does that mean that the sequel automatically has a place in my Hall of Fame? How does it hold up 29 years after its release? Well, I guess it's time to go after Mr. X once again.
GFrom, the gamer, the legend, he's come to show you the way in this world of games. GFrom reviews.
1 year after being defeated by Axel Stone, Blaze Fielding and Adam Hunter, Mr. X is back, stronger than ever. He attempts to lure Axel and Blaze into a trap by kidnapping Adam. What an asshole. Thankfully they are joined by Eddie Skate Hunter, who is Adam's kid brother, and Max Thunder, a super buff wrestler dude.
Let's take it to the streets.
The first thing you notice when you start this game is just how much better it looks than the first one. The character sprites are much larger and way more detailed. It's impressive how much they managed to improve on the original in just 1 year. At its core, Streets of Rage 2 is just like the first game. Punch and kick your way through 8 stages with some very difficult bosses at the end. Some of the items look a little different, but they serve the same purpose, with some giving you points, an extra life or additional health.
New melee weapons have been added while others have been removed.
Gone are the pepper shaker, the baseball bat and the bottle. Instead, say hello to the kunai, which is a throwing weapon I almost never pick up, and the katana. This weapon is a great addition as it deals a large amount of damage. All characters play differently, which makes each one a unique experience. Axel feels mostly the same as before. His jump is still wimpy, but feels like a small improvement. He is one of the more balanced characters and my personal favorite. Blaze is the most balanced character, which means her jump has been downgraded, but she has gained power.
She's not the best or the worst at anything.
Skate has taken her place as the weakest but fastest character. That's why I prefer to play as him on lower difficulties. Max is slow like a tank, but by far the strongest character. They all have their ups and downs, but there is fun to be had with each and every one of them. You can even change the character if you use a continue. A welcome addition in my opinion. Oh, in the options menu you can choose how many lives you want to have.
Of course I'm choosing the maximum of 5 lives. Why wouldn't I?
The biggest disappointment comes in the form of the special attacks. Remember the ability to call backup at almost any time? Gone. One of my favorite aspects of the first game has been removed completely. Instead, every character has 2 special moves, depending on if you're stationary or pushing a directional button. These can come quite in handy when you're surrounded by goons. You can use them whenever you like, but the downside is that the attacks sap away your health. A directed attack always drains your life, and a stationary attack only does so when you actually hit someone. This also means that you can't use these when you're very low on health. Personally, I almost never used them as I don't like wasting energy, even if I know that I might end up losing more energy trying to defeat everyone without them.
Gladly, even more moves have been introduced, and these don't hurt you.
By pushing forward B, you perform a Blitz attack. These are very powerful and have saved my ass on more than one occasion. When things get tough, I often spam the shit out of this attack.
I know it's cheap, but I just want to live, man.
The other moves and grabs from Streets of Rage 1 are still present here. Regarding the 2-player mode, the pros and cons have pretty much remained intact, except for the fact that thankfully you don't have to fight 2 bosses at the end anymore. In addition to being able to play the main game with a second player, there's a new battle mode. It's similar to Mode B in Double Dragon, where 2 players can fight each other. There are 8 stages to pick from and each character has a second costume. You can play with or without special moves. It's a fun little mode for a couple of minutes, but I'd rather play a real fighting game like Tekken 2 instead. On to the main game. Stage 1 is probably the most iconic stage of the entire series. It reminds you of the first stage in the original, but it looks so much better with blinking store signs and just an overall great atmosphere. The most common items, weapons and enemies are introduced here. In this game, the names of the enemies are displayed along with their health. Galcia is back, but this time with fewer moves. He can't grab you in this game. Signal is just as annoying as in the first game, and I literally just found out that you can avoid damage when he throws you by pushing up and jump when you land.
I should start doing research before I play the game, not after.
Donovan is a new standard prick with sunglasses and a mean uppercut. Try to avoid attacking him with jump kicks. Jack also makes a return, and he's still a pain, this time throwing knives instead of axes or torches. Whereas the stages in the first game were always straight, this one twists things up a bit and makes you go diagonally. Not only that, every level has multiple sections with different music and everything. Here we have to beat up a bunch of punks in a bar. So cool. There's even a nice lady called Electra waiting for us. Can I buy you a drink on this lovely evening?
I guess that's a no?
The stage ends in a back alley with the first boss fight. Barbon is just bigger than the other guys and he's pretty easy to defeat. Overall, this is one of the best introductions to a game I've ever seen. It's just a good old kick-ass experience that makes you want to play more. Stage 2 takes place on a bridge. Unlike stage 4 of the first game, there are no holes we can fall through. I can live with that. This level introduces the rider enemies, basically assholes on motorcycles with grenades. Once you kick them off their vehicles, the bikes explode. Incredible. Some of them will jump off their bikes and fight you in hand-to-hand combat. Don't get too close or they will grab you. Halfway through the level you enter a truck where you have to fight Hakuyo in front of a crowd. He feels a lot more powerful than in the first game. After that we're back on the bridge and I love the background here. The boss with the fitting name Jet zooms around with a jetpack and can be quite irritating to beat. When you get too close he will grab you and slam you into the floor. It's difficult to perform combos on him, so I mostly keep my distance and jump kick his face when he flies towards me. As long as you take your time, it's not that bad honestly. In stage 3 we enter an amusement park. I don't know about you, but when I go to such a park, I don't want to deal with punks sleeping on benches who will gang up on me even after I tell them to please go home.
Is that too much to ask?
Visually, this is one of the most beautiful stages of the series, at least the beginning. We soon enter an arcade where some of the goons play bare knuckle, a nice reference to the Japanese name of this franchise. After that we enter some kind of pirate themed area and even fight on a ship with a pretty weird background. I'm not really interested in pirates, so I never really cared for this part. Ninja is introduced here and he is one of the most annoying enemies in the game. He is quick, jumps around like an idiot and can even use the katana to perform a sick spinning attack. Back outside we fight 2 mini-bosses and then we enter a spooky area which is heavily inspired by the Alien franchise, X included. Watch out, they explode.
Now this is more like it.
I dig Alien.
We even get to fight... what the hell is that?
Is it a living organism? Is it a machine? Is it imagination? Or just a bad dream?
It's just a machine and it's pretty easy to defeat it as long as you use your jump kick. It's not even the end boss. Zamza is basically Souther from the first game, but on fucking speed! This is one of my least favorite bosses in this game because he's so hard to figure out and he keeps jumping and spinning around like a coked up madman. We don't like each other. It's like boo! At the beginning of stage 4 we make our way to a baseball stadium and apparently the amusement park which we can see in the background was Disney World Mr. X edition. They are sleeping on benches again. Lazy bastards. The baseball stadium is full of henchmen and here another boss from the first game makes a return. Bongo or Big Ben is back, breathing fire again. What are you laughing at? At least you don't get hurt when you throw him this time. Next up we're on a secret elevator, which seems to be the longest elevator in the world. Where the hell are we going? Hell? And how on earth do these dudes survive when they jump down here? Fuck gravity, man. What's down here anyway? Illegal wrestling. Nice. Ultimate Warrior knockoff Abadede is back and this time he isn't as easy to beat as in the original, as he has learned quite a few new moves. He can even counter long combos and holds. Still, I'd say he isn't one of the hardest bosses. Stage 5 takes place on a ship, just like the 4th stage in the original. Here we have a little more variety, starting off on the lower deck. This level marks a rise in difficulty, as you have to fight a lot more enemies than before. This also means you encounter more mini-bosses, which of course doesn't make life any easier. The middle deck is pretty much the same, which is why I wonder why they are split apart in the first place. The last regular enemy is introduced here. Raven is a huge and strong close-range fighter who likes to block many of your attacks. The upper deck looks a lot more pleasing, and as someone who loves being on boats on open water, this part is particularly appealing to me. Except when people throw grenades at me. That I don't like. When the boss music starts and the timer resets to 99, you don't face the boss immediately. Instead, you face a bunch of henchmen first before you get to Rocky Bear. Oh, sweet baby Jesus in heaven, this guy is such a cheap shot. He is incredibly strong and likes to headbutt you more often than not. He is without a doubt my least favorite boss of the entire game. It's ridiculous how many of my attempts over the years have either ended right here or made me lose so many lives that I couldn't get far in the next stage. Sure, I've gotten better over the years, but this is still a part that I don't look forward to in the slightest. Stage 6 takes inspiration from the third stage of the first game, as it takes place on a beach, this time from a different perspective. Wait a minute, roller skates on a beach? Seriously? This is such a memorable set piece, even though we don't stay here for long. Fighting this many ravens near the end can be a tough challenge. Most of the level takes place in a jungle setting, and I won't lie to you, I don't care for this part. By this point you get overrun with enemies, and even the stupid motorcycle grenade douchebags are back. One thing that always helps is that most enemies are triggered once you reach a certain point. So if you just go step by step, often only one or a few enemies spawn or move. So instead of taking on both big boys here, I stay on one side of the screen and just give him one punch at a time without using combos. This way he can't defend himself, and even though it takes a while, it's the safest way to do it. Just keep track of the time. The level ends with Souther and Stealth, who we have both met under different names. So just like in the first game, they clearly ran out of bosses. Fighting both at once is a total bitch, and just like with the fifth boss, many of my attempts over the years have ended right here. It takes serious multitasking. Stage 7 is an updated version of Stage 6 from Streets of Rage 1.
You know, by now I could do with more brand new stages instead of familiar themes.
This level is full of conveyor belts that slow you down. At least there are no crushers here. It's still pretty difficult, but nothing compared to what comes next. On yet another elevator, we have to fight waves and waves of enemies with only one opportunity to refill your health. Some of these encounters are ridiculously hard, and I wish everyone good luck if you want to get through here without losing plenty of lives. Especially this part right here drove me nuts. Too many quick-ass enemies at once. At least in the first game you could throw people off the elevator, but not here. At the end you have to fight X-Robots. After all that crap on the elevator, I really don't feel like fighting overpowered machines. But in all honesty, it's not that bad. They pretty much jump around aimlessly, so I try to get them when they land. If you get too close, they will attack you with spiked balls, so better keep distance. They can also shoot projectiles, and they electrocute you when you grab them. Overall, this is my least favorite level in the game. The factory part bores me, the elevator can F off, and the bosses are irritating. Stage 8 is the final level, and just like in the previous game, it's essentially a boss rush. The beginning in the corridor isn't too bad, except for the fact that you have to fight this prick again. After that comes another fucking elevator.
Seriously? The elevator level in the first game was my favorite, but here it has really overstayed its welcome.
So again, we fight swarms of enemies and encounter almost every boss of the game. If you manage to get past all of that, it's finally time to face Mr. X. You wish. First, you have to fight a couple of standard goons. No problem. But then we have to fight Shiva. He is Mr. X's right-hand man, and boy, he's got the moves, man. Nobody else in this game has such a complex moveset, which makes him the most unpredictable foe of them all. If you're somehow able to defeat him, Mr. X takes out his machine gun and starts shooting at you. It's pretty similar to the last time we fought him. Beat the shit out of him and you have finished Streets of Rage 2. The end credits show how Adam is rescued and they get picked up by a helicopter. Again, not a super exciting ending, but not terrible either. Once again, there are 4 difficulty settings in this game: easy, normal, hard, and hardest. On higher difficulties, there are more enemies to fight and their life bars are bigger. In stage 7, for example, you have to fight 3 robots instead of 2 on the hardest difficulty. On easy and normal, I usually don't have any problem reaching the end, but on hard and hardest, it's a different story. For this review, I played this game too many times to count and I have been able to beat the game on all settings, but man, after some of these sessions my hands just hurt for days. From stage 5 onwards, it gets so intense and you are not allowed to make any mistakes. Especially on the elevator parts, it's crucial to remain focused and beware of all the enemies. If only I had backup. The sound has been improved. The voices are still scratchy, but not as much as before. The playable characters even have battle cries, and Axel's grand upper has been burned into my mind for all eternity. That's the punishment for spamming the same attack over and over again. The punches and kicks sound as great as ever, and for some reason I find this sound to be quite amusing.
But now the part we've all been waiting for, the music.
Once again, Yuzo Koshiro composed the soundtrack and he made the impossible happen.
With the help of sorcery and magic, he managed to improve on the already revolutionary first soundtrack in almost every way.
The sounds are much more modern, crisp and clean. He took inspiration from electronic dance music like house and techno and created both melodic and gritty tracks. That made for an experience almost unthinkable on the Mega Drive due to hardware limitations.
The composer has even performed in nightclubs with this, and from the videos I've seen, it must be an incredible thing to witness.
While I think every single track on here is a masterpiece from a technical standpoint, there are some that I'm not that fond of. Mostly I'm talking about songs that stress me out after a while because they're either too fast or have high pitches, like the end of stage 3, the elevator on stage 4, and the elevator in stage 7. The last one in particular is an awesome track, but there's only so much I can take. The one track I could do without is Jungle Bass, just not my style at all. But on to the good stuff. I have a soft spot for the bar music. It's the first time you hear a second tune in one level and it just fits the atmosphere perfectly. It kind of reminds me of the last stage in World of Illusion, which came out around the same time. In stage 5 we have an enhanced version of the level 4 music from Streets of Rage 1. Again, I love the piano part so much. Although I like the first intro more, this one is pretty good as well.
There are too many great tracks, so you know the drill. Here are my top 5 songs from Streets of Rage 2.
Number 5. Dreamer is one of the most memorable tunes. I especially love the beginning and the piano that accompanies this track through its entirety. Classic 90s material. Number 4. Stage 6 starts off with a song that is pure fun. It's a shame that this only plays during this short bit, because it is a seriously overlooked banger. Number 3. Even though the ending itself isn't that special, the song surely is. It gives me sentimental and nostalgic feelings even though I never played this game as a kid. A perfect way to end this journey. Number 2. Just like the first game, Streets of Rage 2 starts off with a bang. Go Straight is one of the most beloved Mega Drive tunes out there, and for good reason. It immediately gives you an adrenaline rush and keeps you pumped throughout the entire level. It's a great showcase how this soundtrack is truly something special. Number 1. This might be my favorite Mega Drive track of all time. Under Logic is marvelous in every way, and it's no wonder because it's heavily inspired by Move Any Mountain by the Shaman, a group I love since my early childhood. It never gets old for me and is as close to perfection as you can get.
So let's wrap this up.
Streets of Rage 2 is an incredible game. It takes everything that was great about the first game and improves on it in almost every way. It looks so much better and holds up very well even to this day. Quality-wise, the music is the best you can find on the Mega Drive. Personally, I prefer the soundtrack of the original as a whole, but not by much. The harder difficulties are pretty damn brutal and it takes a lot of practice to get good. While I love the game up to stage 6-1, by 6-2 it starts to get a bit exhausting due to the sheer amount of enemies you face. By the end, after all these playthroughs, I honestly started to get a bit sick of it, especially the elevator parts. But I guess that's normal if you play something that much in such a short time span. Just start with easy if you want to get into the game. Normal is my preferred difficulty. Not too easy, but not frustrating either. The weapons add variety to the gameplay, and although I almost never used the special attacks, they are a great addition.
Personally, I prefer the backup, but deep down I know that it's just an easy way out and its absence makes the game more balanced. Also, it forces me to get better.
Like in the first game, I'm not a huge fan of the bosses, but I feel like they are not as cheap as before, even though some of them can straight up go to hell. I'm looking at you, Rocky Bear. Especially with 2 players, it's such a blast to play if you don't accidentally beat up each other. At least there's a mode for that now as well. Of all the beat 'em ups I've played over the years, this one is easily in my top 3.
Is it my favorite game in the series? Surprisingly, not.
Although the first game is technically inferior, I kind of prefer the slightly faster gameplay, the special attack and the soundtrack. You can't go wrong with either of these games, and personally I come back to both of them every now and then. There are several ways to play it nowadays, like on the Sega Mega Drive Ultimate Collection on the PS3.
If you want to get into the series, this is an excellent title to start with due to the different playable characters, a masterpiece of a soundtrack, and all around smooth and fun gameplay.
Hey everyone, this is GFrom. Thank you so much for watching my video. Feel free to rate, comment, subscribe and follow me on social media. I'll see you later. Have a nice day.